We have to remember that we learned from some of the best. They had some white boys came over here that did the first beheadings in Point Coupee, Louisiana, where I'm from. Slave insurrection, that was the way you dealt with it. Tuskegee syphilis incident. We're going to see how black men die if they have syphilis, but we pretend we treat them with penicillin, and we're just going to watch the pathology of how they die. Now, that wasn't back 200 years ago. That was 1930 to 1974. We're talking about giving these wonderful blankets to the Native Americans infected with smallpox as they walked on that trail of tears just to see how they die and to eliminate their population so we can take all of that land. So the violence that is in America has come from a very learned position that was brought here by some Caucasian folks. All right?
Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahwashai, Ba'asham Rakah Kwadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere kin. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video. Through the spirits and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahwashai, Ba'asham Rakah Kwadash, all praises and glories is due, especially in these times, right? And this is the book of Nahum 3 verse 1. Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery, the prey departeth not. And that's going to be the title of the video. Woe to the bloody city, because of the clip I played right before this video. And it's kind of like what the brothers in the UK always say. And I forgot how they usually say it, but basically that Esau Edom is the heavyweight champion of bloodshed, right, or of bloodshedding, especially when it comes to the blood of the Israelites, okay, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the scattered Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And it's something that I've been, meditating on, right? Because, hey man, I'm the kind of brother that always thinks about different things, right, and tries to relate everything that happens on the earth, right, through the scriptures. And one of the things that I've really been thinking about is the hypocrisy of Esau Edom, and how these devils, they are the true savages, right? Of course it goes without saying, if you know the history of Esau Edom, that's already pretty very clearly obvious, right? But then you also begin to realize that this civilization that you see a lot of these Edomites, right, these devils always being so proud of, you begin to ask yourself, what even is what even is there to be proud of when it comes to this kingdom, right? Like, what great beneficial thing is there in this kingdom to be proud of? That, look man, everything the scripture says about this place, right, being America, Babylon the Great, being ruled over by the wicked Esau Edom, right, being a place of just the people just constantly being in mourning, is 100% true, right? You can't, because you see these devils will come out and talking about how their so-called white culture is so great, right? How they've built up this great civilization. What is great about this civilization, right? Let's not even speak on just the you know what, we are going to do that, because that's going to be what this video is about, right? Speaking on the vile, wicked ways in which Esau Edom has not only victimized but destroyed our people, right? That's you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, because really that's what we're here to do, okay? And that really is the major condemnation that is being put against this kingdom, okay? The wickedness of this kingdom. Why this thing just closed? I think it's because it's updating, so you have to just bear with it. Let's quickly finish updating. So let me just go to the KJV instead. Right, so like I was saying, okay, the condemnation that is being placed upon this kingdom, okay, and that is primarily because of the way in which Esau Edom has treated our people, right? The Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the scattered Israelites that have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And that's really what we're going into in this video, okay? That's this is a failed state, a failed civilization, and that's why the scriptures speak the way that it does against this kingdom, right? Babylon the Great. So let's go to that right now. So now back to the Now back to the precept at hand. Nahum 3 verse 1. Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery, the prey departeth not. Right. Because Esau's kingdom, Esau's city, America, Babylon the Great, it is a bloody city, and that has been proven primarily not only by the amount of bloodshed that Esau Edom has done all over the earth, but even domestically, man. The bloodshed that Esau is doing domestically is already it's already far exceeding anything that basically, man, Esau is not Esau's kingdom, Esau's cities, right? They are not civilized, okay? These devils are the biggest savages on the earth, not only due to the violence against our people, once again, speaking on that, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, but really the violence committed to everybody living in his kingdom, right? Case in point, if you remember the whole Luigi Mangione and Brian Thompson situation, right? Allegedly, okay, this dude Brian Thompson, right, due to his rejecting of insurance claims, right, because he had that power as the CEO to set up the standards the company would follow when it comes to accepting or rejecting insurance claims, and due to that, he killed multiple, over 1,000 people a year due to his rejection of insurance claims. That's basically how Esau's kingdom operates. That's why you always see Jake talking about systemic racism, right? Where basically Esau's violence and Esau's wickedness is already embedded into the system, in which the system is also a part of the mechanism that perpetuates that violence. That's why all these your different institutions that are set up in America, Babylon the Great, or big pharma, big tech, big oil, so on and so forth, have so much blood on their hands and are responsible for so much bloodshed all over the earth and even domestically, okay? Because there was this shot I saw, right, of this Edomite family that was living near one of Mark Zuckerberg's one of Facebook's farms, right? And basically, due to the high amount of energy and pollution those server farms cost, the water that is around that region has become polluted to the point it's undrinkable. And this is what Esau Edom does. It's not just violence against Jake. It's not just violence against the heathen. It's not even just violence against himself himself, right? In other words, his fellow Edomites, but also violence against the earth as well, right? And these devils are basically just trying to speed run as much wickedness as they can in as little period of time as possible, right? So now Nahum 3 verse 2, the noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of wheels and of the prancing of horses and of the jumping chariots, right? Because this is also going into the book of Revelation, the 6th chapter, right, where basically the red horseman that was placed upon the earth or set up on the earth to let's go to that precept. Let me go to it in the KJV. The red horseman, let's get that. Revelation, the 6th chapter. I forgot to close this WhatsApp. Anyway, Revelation 6, and I'll start from the main point. So yeah, Revelation 6 verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword, right? And basically that's what Esau Edom has done, taking peace away from the earth. And we know that this red horseman is Esau Edom, right? Is the devil which the Bible speaks of, because you can also go to the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, and see the same thing, right? Because after Esau falls, okay, and after Esau's rulership is up, as the scriptures say, the whole earth is at rest. So let's get that precept. So this is the book of Isaiah 14 verse 4. That thou shalt take up this parable against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, right? And we know that the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. Job 9 verse 24. You see how the precepts are relating. And I'm not really going to go into that one, so I'm just going to have to quote it for you because I don't want to start, going into different precepts and losing my train of thought, right? But you see how the precepts are relating now. The Yahweh has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. In other words, that's showing you what this is basically is a simile. Okay, so comparing two things to each other, right? So the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, that is two things that are compared together in this case, because the wicked and those that are in rulership are the same. Going back to Job 9 verse 24, where it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And of course the second part, it covered the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he. And we know that this is speaking of Esau Edom, because it's already been established that Esau Edom is the wicked, and it has also been established that Esau Edom is the so-called white man, right? The so-called red man, the so-called white man that is ruling over the earth today. Going back to second Ezra, the 6th chapter from the 9th verse, right? Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So whoever is ruling in these last days is not only the wicked, right? But it's also Esau Edom. Of course, those things are interchangeable, so you already know.
Wow, how is that even possible?
Right, and that is the main reason why you see people, you see people, and it's not just Jake, man. Right, everybody is also groaning and complaining about the same thing, about the unnecessary amounts of violence that is all over the earth, right? The different wars and conflicts and destabilizations and things that are going on all over the earth, right? You open your timeline on social media, it's always somebody, having a flag based on some form of violence that's happening on the earth, whether it's the Palestinian flag, or whether it's the flag for Jake that was, Jake, during that 2020 period after the George Floyd protest, right? Or whether it's what's going on even here in Africa as well, Congo, the Sudan, going on in Southeast Asia with Myanmar, right? Those things are still happening, right? And the newest one that just happened, India and Pakistan, and you have a lot of people saying that, oh well, Esau Edom, right? So whether it's America, Babylon the Great, whether it's the UK, are involved in one way or the other, right? Due to India being a major player in BRICS, right? So now let's continue reading. Isaiah 14 verse 5, Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth. Right? And who is that smote? And there's not even a matter of me explaining it, right? If I have to explain it, it is very obvious that you are being intellectually dishonest and not willing to admit who the scriptures are talking about right here, because who else fits this description than Esau Edom, right? And it's just like the Elder Malcolm has said, man, these are the kind of lessons that all these Hebrew Israelite deniers will never watch. The ones who are going in depth and explaining, right, and breaking down, okay, the reason why Esau Edom is the devil, the reason why Esau Edom is going into captivity, right? And showing through the scriptures that this is clearly speaking about you Edomites and the situation that you have put on the earth, right? Basically your rulership and how wicked that rulership is. But let's keep going. Okay, let's keep going. Isaiah 14 verse 7, the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fair trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. Right? And once Esau Edom is taken out of power, man, you're not going to see any more of this war and violence and the whole situation that you are currently seeing on the earth happening anymore, because it's going to be a time of eternal peace, as it is written, right? The nations will break their spears into plowshares, right? And their swords into pruning hooks, and nations shall no longer learn war anymore. Let's get that precept. Nations shall no longer learn war anymore. So this is the book of Isaiah 2 verse 4. Isaiah 2 verse, let me start from the top. Isaiah 2 verse 1, the word that Isaiah son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And we are currently not in that situation. Okay. Because we are because the devil, right, the wicked is still ruling on the earth. Right, so let's go back to the book of Micah, okay? And covering the the main purpose of this topic, right? The bloody city and the oppression and the oppression and basically what Esau Edom, right, has put upon our people and has done to our people, the wickedness and the violence against you Israelites, okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Because if you notice, right, he was, the announcer, right, the speaker was speaking both on the violence of Babylon the Great against both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? So Nahum 3 verse 3, the horsemen lift up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses, and they stumble upon their corpses because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts, right? And basically this is just going into the violence of America, Babylon the Great, especially against the Israelites, okay? The Israelites, okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, okay? Yeah, so let me also go and get this preset as well, okay? Here it is. So this is the book of Joel 3 verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right. And like I said, man, the main evil that Esau Edom has committed, right, is of course the violence against the Israelites. Once again, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and the Most High, the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua is going to judge you devils for that now. So now, Joel 3 verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Going back to the transatlantic slave trade, and that is even the main, going back to the transatlantic slave trade, and that's one of the contributing factors to why our people are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth currently. So now, Joel 3 verse 4, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I turn your recompense upon your own head, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. And this is of course still speaking of America, Babylon the Great, right? Because Tyre and Zidon, and that's the funny thing, that America, Babylon the Great is once again considered spiritually to be Tyre and Zidon, right? Which of course, because of its being more of a coastal region where, you know, you can be more of a coastal region, and you go back to the history of Tyre and Zidon, right? It was a major port where a lot of trade was going on during that time. Also similar to how, a lot of major trade, of course, it's mainly importing, right? So you have America, Babylon the Great importing goods, but it's similar to, you know, but it's similar to, right, Tyre and Zidon in going about, speaking mainly on the trade that goes on, okay? And really, this is referring to America, Babylon the Great, right? Because our people were put in captivity, right? All of our people, right? All the 12 tribes served captivity in America, Babylon the Great, okay? So now Joel 3 verse 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own heads. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for Yahweh hath spoken it. Right. And basically, the same way you Edomites, right, put our people in captivity is the same way that at the return of our Lord Yahweh, we will also put all you Edomites in captivity. Okay. So let me close out with this precept right here, and just to round it up, when it comes to the violence of Esau Edom against our people. Once again, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the scattered Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Ezekiel 35, and I'll start from verse 5. Right. Ezekiel 35. Let me start from the top. Ezekiel 35 verse 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the one Yahweh, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Right. And amen. The Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to destroy America, Babylon the Great. It's going to destroy the kingdom of Esau, Edom, okay, in these last days. Alright, and this is something that is coming, very soon. Alright, man. That's why we're constantly going into these scriptures and constantly going into these prophecies, okay, to bring our people to repentance before this day comes, right? As it is written, to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I smite the earth, lest the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai smite the earth with a plague. And that's really what the men of the Lord have been doing, starting of course from the elder apostles on down. So now continuing on. Continuing on. Ezekiel 35 verse 5. Because thou hast had, and this is the main point right here, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Right. So even during the transatlantic slave trade, right, Esau Edom was still, victimizing and still had hatred and committed so much violence against our people, right? And you can even go and look up, the horrors or the things that Esau Edom was doing to our people, right? You Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians during the transatlantic slave trade, whether it's the Trail of Tears, right? The Indian Removal Act, or was it Indian Exclusion Act? Okay, the various massacres, right, by presidents of the United States like Andrew Jackson against the Northern Kingdom, or even the Southern Kingdom with the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade and basically the lynchings, right? The cannibalism, because that was also happening as well, and it just shows you how wicked Esau Edom truly is. Okay, and then after the captivity, the emancipation proclamation, Juneteenth, or whatever you want to call it, basically when Esau Edom, quote unquote, because he didn't actually do that. Okay, you are still in your captivity till this day. America, Babylon the Great, has not freed the slaves. Okay, and let's get that preset. Let's go to the yeah. So this is the book of Jeremiah 50, verse 33. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast and refused to let them go. Right? Because till this day, okay, slavery, right, has not yet been illegalized in America, Babylon the Great. Right? Slavery is not illegal in America, Babylon the Great. Slavery is not illegal in America, Babylon the Great. Okay, because if you go into the 13th Amendment, you will clearly see that the 13th Amendment does not legalize slavery. So no, the slave trade has not been abolished in America, Babylon the Great, but it continues as the prison industrial complex, right? And that's why you see once again, and the same thing was happening even immediately after the transatlantic slave trade, showing you the wickedness of Esau Edom against our people, right? Where the over policing, the party rollers, the slave catchers, right? The over policing of our people continued even after the transatlantic slave trade, where you would have newly freed Jake being carted off and thrown into prison, right? Esau Edom basically invented crimes like loitering, even I think jaywalking is different, like loitering, right? Basically, I forgot how they call that law, man. Where if you had more than five so-called Negroes, right, five Jakes, you know, together in one area, that was considered a crime, and you get thrown in prison for that. And while you are in prison, you are basically a slave, right? You are forced to work plantations, forced to build railroads. That's why you even have the term the chain gang. That's what the chain gang even is. Let me see if I can quickly open that, just to show what I'm talking about. The chain gang. That's basically what it is. Yeah, it is. A chain gang refers to a group of prisoners who are chained together and forced to perform labor, often outdoors or in physically demanding conditions. This practice was historically used as a form of punishment and forced labor, primarily in the United States, particularly in the South. Right. And if we go to the picture of this chain gang, you see that, hey, majority of them are it's Jake, man. It's always Jake. And even in this picture self, these dudes kind of look like Northern Kingdom, right? Oh, America's only all-female chain gang tours in Phoenix City. So that means that they are still, even to this day, you still have the chain gang. Okay, and this is something that happened after the transatlantic slave trade, right? Showing you the connection between the prison industrial complex and basically modern day slavery, which still continues till this day in America, Babylon the Great, because that's why a lot of your prisons, right, especially in Babylon, are mainly in the south, and mainly in all these remote ass towns in the south, right, where you only have really you only have Edomites in, right, and it's Jake that's doing all the labor. Even till this day, you still have Jakes in prison working the plantations, right, working in these various institutions for, if they even pay them, of course, because some of these prisons actually pay, for like in pennies or something like that. But some of them are actually, forced to work there for free 99, right, for nothing. Okay, So the captivity still continues till this day, as it is written in the book of Baruch that we are yet this day still in captivity. Okay, because Esau Edom did not abolish the slave trade, he just found a loophole, right? And he just found he didn't even find a loophole. He just he just changed the location of the captivity and said he abolished the slave trade. And the people of this world are stupid, so they will never look into these things and find out that, oh, the slave trade has not actually been abolished, right? So let's keep going. Ezekiel 35 verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith Adawan Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Right. And these things I'm talking about, right? All the evils that Esau Edom has done, you will not just go scot-free. You cannot just do all this wickedness and think that, oh, no harm is going to come upon you. And that's how Esau Edom believes themselves to be, right? I see the queen. Let me get that precept. So this is the book of Revelation 18 verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right, so the heart of the Babylonian, because that is what this is talking about, okay? And if you just go, this is the book of Revelation 18, so if you just go on up it, you'll see that it's speaking about America, Babylon the Great. And in the heart of the Babylonian, right, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. And that's in the book of Proverbs, I believe, that they name houses after themselves. Their inward thought is that, that's how Esau Edom operates, man. That they think that, oh, that no harm will come to them. They will not have to face any judgment for all this wickedness that their people have done, that their forefathers, their ancestors have done. All this wickedness, right? The unrighteous dealings, the injuries, and the riches got by deceit that they used to build up their kingdom, that they will not have to eventually pay for that. But of course, we know according to the scriptures, they 100% will. Revelation 18 verse 9. Revelation 18 verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh who judgeth her. Right. And that's of course going into the nuclear destruction of America, Babylon the Great. And that is basically how the kingdom is going to end, with great violence, thrown, right, like I was saying, with great violence, right, completely destroyed. Okay, so with that, I'll end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahwashai Ba'asham Rakakwadash Wa Abad Babal. Right, and this is why we say Abad Babal, right, destroy Babylon. And through the Spirit, I hope you are calm and you are quiet, edified. Shalom.